Over the last decade or so, Borussia Dortmund have been the nearly team of European football. They've came close to a Bundesliga title on many an occasion, only to lose out to Bayern Munich, and then this year, when Bayern weren't at their best, it was Leverkusen who ended up stepping up and winning the title, and not Dortmund, who ended up in 5th place, nearly 30 points away from the eventual winners. Now, of course, they are in a Champions League final this year, and they might end up going on to win it, but whatever happens in that game next season is going to be a transitional one, with key players like Marco Reus departing the club. So today I'm going to try and navigate those changes, take Borussia Dortmund up from challengers to the best team in the Bundesliga, and hopefully win a Champions League on the way. Now, we already have some great foundations to build off in our 5 years as manager here, with a huge fan base, a big reputation, great facilities, and a history of winning trophies with 8 Bundesliga titles to their name, 1 European Cup Winners' Cup, and a Champions League equivalent back in 1997. And whilst our team might not be the world's best just yet, there's plenty of great talent in that squad. Julian Brandt is a gifted technical midfielder heading into his prime. In Football Manager, Gregor Kobel is one of the best goalkeepers around. And of course, we've got Marco Reus in the last year of his contract, and the same applies for centre-back Mats Hummels. And obviously with those guys leaving the club, there'll be some huge gaps to fill, but there's some great youngsters here at Dortmund, as there always is. Despite an underwhelming couple of years, Youssef Moukoko is still one of the brightest talents around. German international Karim Adeyemi has huge potential, and Belgium Julian Thuram also has some high hopes pinned on him. And outside of the names we've covered, we've got the likes of Süle at the club, Füllkrug, Sabitzer, Schlotterbeck, plenty of great talent to hopefully help us challenge for that Bundesliga title. The game though doesn't give us too much hope. Whilst we are considered the second best team in the division, we've got 12-1 odds of winning the title, whilst Bayern Munich have 1-3 odds, so we are definitely considered outsiders, so it's certainly not going to be easy to try and win this division. And whilst it isn't a crazy amount, we do have 8 million to spend on potential new incomings, so now I'm going to try and make some transfers, improve the team, and hopefully get off to a good start in Season 1. And with the budget we had, I wasn't necessarily able to go out and completely overhaul the team, but I did manage to get one name off the books and a new player in. Player leaving was Marius Wolf, who's gone to RB Leipzig, of course one of our rivals potentially for the title, but he had 1 year left on his deal, no intention to extend it, so I said, you know what, let's get rid of him. We've made 4 million, and that goes straight into our transfer budget. And coming in as his replacement, but also an option on right wing, is Seiya Maikuma, a Japanese international 25-year-old who we've picked up from C Osaka, where he's been doing very well, caught the eyes of our scouts, and we've paid around £6 million for him. Whether he'll turn out any good, I'm not necessarily sure yet. I've never heard of him before, but fingers crossed he can do a half-decent job. Tactically, I'm starting with a 4-3-3 shape. That was what the game suggested is our best formation with the players we've got. I'll adapt it over time, I'm sure, but in goal, our best 11 is supposedly Gregor Kobel, who we've met. We've got Ryerson, a Norwegian right-back 25-year-old, with Hummels and Schlotterbeck as our ideal centre-back partnership. In left back, we've got Ben Sibani, who is an Algerian defender. In midfield, we've got Emre Can, formerly of Liverpool, and Manchester United's former loanee, Marcel Sabitzer, alongside Marco Reus, with Brandt on the wing, Sancho on loan from United on the left, and then up top, we've got Daniel Marlon, who we haven't actually looked at yet, but supposedly is our best striker right now. And speaking of strikers, he hasn't been transferred out, but I have loaned out Youssef Moukoko to Borussia Mönchengladbach, where hopefully he'll get some game time, play some football, and develop enough to come in as one of our starters. So our first transfer window is complete. I'm sure in Season 2 we'll be able to do far more business with a full transfer budget, but first we need to see how we get on in Season 1, and then we'll take it from there. What can this club do? Can we win a Bundesliga title yet? I wouldn't be so confident. And I must say, it definitely was not our best season, and there's a lot of work to do, but there were some highlights in Season 1, including this match against Frankfurt, where Marco Reus opened a scoring to make it 1-0. Not long afterwards, he made a dart through the middle, had a chance to score, and hit a brilliant shot to make it 2. And with only 30 minutes played, Reus again from distance, after a poor save from Trapp, made it 3. We went on to win that game 4-0, but it just shows you what we're going to lose this season with Marco Reus going. And like I say, it definitely was not the best season. The poke out, we were knocked out in the second round by Leipzig. The second round is terrible. Yes, Leipzig are a good team, but we wanted to go further in that competition. But the most underwhelming part is arguably the Champions League, where in our group, we were probably the favourites to go up in a group with Copenhagen, Feyenoord and Celtic. We ended up finishing rock bottom, 4 points, -11 goal difference, 4 losses, including a 5-0 away loss to the Scottish club, which is really, really devastating. And then in the league, I mean, 67 points isn't bad, not too far away from eventual winners Bayern Munich and Leipzig both sitting on 75 points, but it's not really good enough. 67 points across the course of a season, whilst not being in the other competitions, is not great at all. And if you have a look at some of the results we had, I mean, there was a period where we lost 3 games on a bounce to Mönchengladbach, Leverkusen, and then Leipzig, only scoring 1 goal and conceding 9. So we're really on thin ice here already as Borussia Dortmund manager, and there's a potential that we might end up getting sacked. But saying that, there were some good performers that we can try and build around for next season. Kobel and Daniel Marlon were our 2 best players regularly started. Schlotterbeck did well. Obviously, we'll be losing Marco Reus. Mats Hummels is retiring. And then you've got players like Ian Maatsen doing pretty well for us, but he was here on loan. Jadon Sancho scoring 7, but again, he's here on loan. So it's going to be a really tough transfer window, but we are going into it with £30 million to spend and 100 grand a wage budget. Dortmund are known for finding lots of great wonder kids, and I think that's the method we're going to have to go down if we want to spend this budget wisely and improve the squad. And we made some great transfers in Season 2, but before I show you them, I just want to ask you guys, if you can, to do me a massive favour, to scroll down on the video, hit the like button. You've probably heard me say it a million times, but it really does help the channel and the video, so thank you to anybody who does that, and subscribe as well if you haven't already. We've hit 35k subs, so thank you for that. We do weekly Football Manager content here, so if you enjoy this, we've got plenty more coming, plenty more rebuilds, so make sure you hit that button on the road to 50k subs, and comment down below what rebuild you want to see next, because every one we do is based on your suggestions. And the final thing, don't worry, nearly done, is if you want to support me as a creator, I have a Patreon linked in the description down below. Over there, yes, you can support me, but in return you'll get access to all of the save files from Season 1 through to 5 for every rebuild we've done, so you can take over, see if you can do a better job than me, or just continue it after Season 5 to see if you can get this club even further than we have, or any of the other clubs that we've done here on the channel. That's everything covered though. Now let's check out the transfers. The first one to note, Youssef Moukoko is going to continue his development at Borussia Mönchengladbach. He played 29 times there last season, so he is getting regular football, and he's gone there again for another year. They wanted him back straight away, so I think it makes sense to let him play there. He's 19 now, he'll come back as a 20-year-old and hopefully be ready to make an impact in the first team. Obviously, Marco Reus and Mats Hummels have departed, but we've also seen the exit of Sebastian Haller, who's moved to Hoffenheim, age 30, I think for a pretty good fee of 10 million. Yes, it's way less than originally paid by Dortmund, but he only played 3 times for us last year, so to get a decent sum for him, I think isn't a bad deal. And our final sale was Salih Özcan, the Turkish international 26-year-old, was a decent squad level player, but he wanted out, wanted more game time. He only started 11 times last season, so he's gone to Al Qadsiya out in Saudi Arabia for £15 million. For the same price, we bring in Lucas Guanaduaf, a 20-year-old French midfielder joining from RB Salzburg out in Austria, where he's been phenomenal last season. We paid 15 million, which I think is a bargain for a player like this. Supposedly valued at 70 mil, this is the Dortmund game plan. Buy a player young that has a lot of promise, but also a lot of ability, give him a chance and hopefully see their value increase and get a big sale by the end of it. £20 million was then spent on Croatian midfield 21-year-old Martin Bačarina for the same reasons we bought Lucas Guanaduaf for. He's going to hopefully help the first team, but also grow in value, and you can see, valued at 70 million now, it seems like that's already happening. Signing from Dinamo Zagreb out in Croatia, he's been brilliant there for the first season of this save. We've bought him in for big money, but he's got big potential and a lot of ability already. And it's the same deal for our new centre-back coming in to take up Hummels' place in the squad. This is Bafo Diakate, a French 23-year-old, again, buying young with the potential to get better. He signed from Lille for £21 million, rising to 23. I imagine Süle and Schlotterbeck will be our 2 main centre-backs, but Diakate is there, ready to get some football should we need him. And this is now how our best 11 looks with the departures we've had. It's still the same defence that it was before, and Kobel still in goal. Chan is still at the base at midfield, but Bačarina now takes Marco Reus's spot in our best 11, with Marlon being pushed out wide to make space for Füllkrug, who is supposedly our best striker. Obviously this season, Sancho and Maatsen are no longer here. We've also lost Hummels and Reus alongside all of the sales that I've showed you, and I don't actually know where the game predicts us to finish yet. I'd imagine it's got worse. It has, with 14-1 title favourites now. Predicted 4th place with the likes of Leverkusen, Leipzig and Bayern ahead of us. So clearly the game doesn't fancy the business we've done so far, but I feel like we might have done okay. I think this team is definitely one for the future, might not have an impact straight away, but fingers crossed by the end of Season 2 we haven't lost our job. And again, it was a pretty mixed bag of a season and we really need to improve going forward, but where we did improve was the Champions League, where after a draw in the quarter-final against Real Madrid, we went to the Bernabeu needing to win to make it into the semis. We got off to an early start through Daniel Marlon, and after a David Alaba sending off for Real Madrid, Brandt managed to make it 2 after a deflected strike. And Marlon continued to be dangerous on the right-hand side, finding Ryerson, who played through Felix Lemaitre. He played a ball across the box and Fulk would make it 3, and we were heading into the semi-final. Unfortunately, we faced off against PSG and lost that game, but this was definitely the highlight of our season, and maybe a sign of things to come this weekend when Dortmund face off against Real. But I did say it was a mixed bag, and that's because outside of a Champions League, we were terrible yet again. The DFB Pokal knocked out in the second round by Werder Bremen, and then in the league, we've got less points than last season. We got 4th place where we were predicted to come, 11 losses as well. 61 points isn't bad, but it is a decrease from where we were last year. Bayern Munich pulling away at the top of the division. Our whole job here is to try and close that gap to Bayern Munich, to Leverkusen, to Leipzig, and we're just not doing it so far. It's going worse than I could have imagined. Saying that though, I don't think our transfers have necessarily been wrong, because our best players this season included Martin Batrina, who scored 16 goals. Alongside him, we had Lucas Guarna-Duaf, who played 36 times, again as one of our best performers. So our signings ourselves are working out. I just think this squad isn't quite where Dortmund would want it to be. Saying that, Füllkrug and Marlon managed to get 30 goals between them. They're players that were bought in way before our reign as manager. So there's definitely something we can build off here. Mokoko scoring 14 on loan is a good sign. I just don't necessarily think some of these players that are in and around the squad are good enough quality for where we want to go next season. Saying that, we are going to be able to rectify it because we have £83 million in the transfer budget, 200 grand of wages. The board have been nice to us, but now we need to deliver. If we don't do anything in season 3, there's a good chance we get the sack. Before we see the players I've signed to help us keep in a job, let's see the players we got rid of first. One of those is Giovanni Reina. Of course, he's came for Borussia Dortmund, having signed from the New York FC Academy. The American was around for a few years, went to Forest on loan, did okay there in the save, then came back to us and did okay, but he wasn't part of my plans, so I've sold him to Frankfurt for 8 million. And our other major sale was our 30-year-old left-back, Rami Benson-Baini. The Algerian has moved to Porto for 90 million quid, rising to 24, which I think is a good deal for a guy who was in his later years in that left-back position. I think we're well covered in that area too, particularly when you see who we've bought in. Let's start with the lowest value incoming transfer though. We had Wendell, the Brazilian international 27-year-old midfielder with great ability, signing from Zenit St. Petersburg out in Russia. He's had 2 fantastic seasons there, last season especially, and now we've bought him in for 30 million quid, rising to 15. I think that's a pretty good deal for a player that's going to be on the brink of challenging for a starting place, but mainly in as a squad player. Our new right back is going to be Kyle Walker-Peters. The 28-year-old was available from PSG, where he was transfer listed. Of course, a Southampton player in real life. In this save, he moved straight away to PSG for 37 million. Didn't get a chance, but when he did fairly well. So we've now bought him in for that £16 million fee, which is a lot for a 28-year-old, but the England international is someone that I think is really going to suit our team. A typical Borussia Dortmund transfer though, we have signed Antonio Nusa, the Norwegian 20-year-old international, for a fee of 26 million from Club Brugge, where he has been exceptional. We've got him on a release clause deal, battled it out against some other clubs to get him in. He's now valued at 100 million quid with great potential and already comes in as one of our best wide players. And then our new star left back coming in to replace Benson-Baini is 23-year-old Miguel Gutierrez, who signs from Spanish club Girona, where he has been brilliant for the last couple of seasons. Obviously in real life they did really well. In this save they didn't do as good, but he was one of the stars in that team. It's led to our scouts recommending him very highly. If you don't know, every player we sign in this rebuild, it's nothing to do with my own knowledge. I have to go based on the scout reports, else I just end up signing the same players every time. So the scouts recommended him. I was very happy they did because he is an absolute gem at left back. And you can see the team is now starting to become our own squad. We've started to add some of our own players into the best 11. It's becoming more of our own team with Kobel in goal, Walker-Peters and Gutierrez as our new best fullbacks, alongside Süle and Schlotterbeck still as our ideal centre-back partnership. We've got Guarna-Duaf in the midfield next to Batrina and Sabitzer, with Nusa, Brandt and Marlon as the rest of the players, with some great options on the bench too. Füllkrug, Wendell, Ryerson, Mokoko. We've even got young players as well like Tom Rofe, who's been developing from the academy and getting some football. So overall, I feel like we're definitely heading in the right direction, but we need to see good performances on the pitch because our last couple of seasons haven't been great, and I really am not just saying it when I think our job could be on the line soon. Now, we're currently predicted 3rd place place with 12-1 odds of winning the title. Bayern still have that 1-3 odds. They're expected to win it. We've at least gone up a little bit, which shows we have made some decent business in this window. Fingers crossed we can deliver in season 3, else we might get sacked. Okay, so season 3 has been and gone, and I really do think this is the rebuild where I have most rode the edge of potentially being sacked. This year, we were pretty rubbish yet again. I mean, we were better in the league, only 10 points away from the eventual winners, but we lost 9 games, only had 16 goal difference, only 2 points ahead of Bayer Leverkusen. The Pokal we were knocked out in the 3rd round, and Liverpool beat us in the Champions League round of 16. As you can see, we did knock out Benfica on the way, but then Liverpool knocked us out straight away as we did get into them knockouts. But you see results like this, a 7-0 loss to Bayern Munich with only a few games left of the season, followed up a few days later with a 5-0 loss to Bayer Leverkusen. I think I'm actually doing a terrible job here, and I don't know how we've still got a job. We're considered a C+ rating right now, which is actually way better than it should be. I don't know really what they're judging us on. Maybe they just want us to be in the Champions League. It looks like they do, but if they want a team that's going to win the title, I'm not doing that currently. Like I say, they've been the nearly team for the last decade or so in real life. I don't even think we're the nearly team in this save. We're just not good at all, and with only 2 seasons to go, I don't really know what we're going to do in terms of winning trophies, and this might be our first unsuccessful rebuild. Saying that, there's some decent players at the club that we've bought in, the likes of Nusa scoring 14 goals, Baturina scoring 12. At least we're developing talent that we could then sell on for big profits. That's of course what Dortmund do like to do, but even saying that, I mean, that's reaching for something good there, because the rest of the team, it's just not going great at all. I mean, Sabitzer did well, but he's also coming towards the end of his deal now. Next season he'll be out of contract, so yeah, this is a real struggle so far at Dortmund. But saying that, we have got a budget. We've got 62 million quid. It's really make or break time now. If we don't get the transfers right in season 4, I think we can just forget about winning anything in this rebuild. And the season 4 transfers, I think we've actually done a really good job. Before I show you them though, the last time I'll ask, if you could take a second, hit that like button if you have enjoyed the video so far. I won't ask you again, but if you could, that'll mean the absolute world and really will help the videos. But let's see who's in to help the team. Or more importantly, who's left, because we've actually sold 70 million worth of players and only spent 30, but I think we've massively improved the squad. The first sale was Julian Ryerson, the Norwegian 28-year-old, had a year left on his contract, so he's gone to Everton for 15 million. Karim Adeyemi has moved to Wolfsburg, where he's going to be an important player, and good luck to him there. He's a decent player in FM, he's okay, but he was never really the man for us. I mean, he scored, what, 3 goals in the few years we've been here. It's not been great at all. He did score as well in that season. So 4 goals. Obviously, I've done him a disservice there, but 4 goals in 3 seasons so far is terrible. So he's moved to Wolfsburg for 15 million quid, and hopefully he can find his feet there. And Bafo Diakate, who he signed in season 1, has now moved to Napoli, age 25. He developed into a very good centre-back. We've moved him on for 30 million, a profit on what we initially paid for him of 23. Not a huge profit, but enough. He came in, played a few times, then played a few times again the season after, only 5 starts, so I think to get that much money is a good bit of business, particularly when you see the transfers coming in, like Mark Gurhey on a free. Crystal Palace let him go at the end of his contract. He's been pretty solid in the Premier League during the course of this simulation. Now we've got him in the club. He's going to be a very good centre-back, a leader as well, and I'm delighted to have him in. We kept going with the free transfers though. Jadon Sancho let go by Manchester United, and we have brought him back to Borussia Dortmund. Somehow he accepted 25 grand a week. I don't know how he pulled that off, but he is in. He hasn't played much for United at all, but in the season he was here, he was a decent player. Now, I don't think he's going to be the Jadon Sancho we know. He's just going to be a squad player for us, but that's perfectly fine. And the other free transfer we bought in was Ivan Ilic, the Serbian international 25-year-old midfielder who gives us an extra body in the midfield that's very high quality. Valued at 30 million, he was definitely worth picking up on a free transfer. In terms of actual player fees though, we bought Tjark Ernsten, the German goalkeeper, 23-year-old for 4 million from Hertha Berlin. He's going to be our backup goalie, probably for the rest of this rebuild, to be honest. Kobel is very good, I'm not looking to replace him, but Ernst is at least a capable backup. Sebastian Crespo is a young 18-year-old Argentinian defender that we've picked up for 6 million quid and loaned him straight back out to San Lorenzo to continue his development, but he's got a very bright future. As has German 20-year-old Elias Boom, who comes in as our right-back option. I don't know if I pronounced that right at all, but he's valued at 50 million quid. He's not got huge potential, but as a backup right-back, you can't ask for too much more. for 7 million from Frankfurt, where he's played consistent football in the Bundesliga. I think he'll be a great addition to the squad. And then our new backup striker, potentially starting striker, is Jovan Zivkovic, who's an Austrian international who scored 5 in 11 for his country. The 20-year-old was signed from Rapid Vienna for 13 million. I thought it was a good deal as a release clause fee. He's only ever scored 8 goals in his career, so I don't really understand why he's now valued at 80 million quid, but I'm not going to question that at all. If he is worth that money, then we've made a great transfer here, and he looks like a very good striker. So as we head into our 4th season, this is what is now our best team, and I actually think it's starting to look quite dangerous when you factor in the bench. In goal, we've got Kobel, still Walker-Peters, Schürrle, Schlotterbeck and Gutierrez, still the same midfield and still the same attack, but when you count on the likes of Gerhi off the bench, Wendell, Mokoko's going to be staying this season as he did last season, Tom Roth, Sancho, Zivkovic, Ilic, we're looking like a much stronger team, and that's not including the likes of Bino Gittins, who's a young player that hasn't really developed. The same goes for Filippo Mane, a young player who's not developing massively, and Julian Duranville. Not every wonder kid is going to turn into a great player, but so far we've picked up some good options in the squad. It's not just the first 11 now, we have got a full team, and that's led to the season preview, crossing our fingers it's gone up, to be, oh god, 4 favourites to win the league, 20-1 odds, it's gone down. I don't know what we're doing here at Dortmund, but clearly things aren't working out the way that I want. We're going to try and prove everyone wrong. We've got 2 years left at the club. Fingers crossed we can deliver some kind of silverware in season 4, else this rebuild is a bust. Okay, we can breathe out a little bit because this season was a much better one and we should be securing our job. Now, we were after silverware this season and we actually had the chance to win some in the Pokal final against Leipzig. An early header from Schlotterbeck put us 1-0 up. And with 96 minutes on the clock, Sabitzer tucked away a penalty. That was enough to get us a win. We had 1 trophy down. We've won the Pokal in our 4 years here, which is certainly something, but it's not the best. But the Champions League this season, we gave a very good go. Once again, we made it to the quarter-final, facing off against Real Madrid. We did lose at the Bernabeu, but then they came to our stadium and we got off to a flyer with Brandt scoring to make it 2-2 on aggregate and 1-0 on the night. But after a Real Madrid sending off, we suddenly got into the ascendancy, Ilic receiving the ball, playing through Julian Brandt into the middle, and he scored past Courtois. And from there, the goals started to flow. Gutierrez coming forward. He found Bacharina, who played through Marlon to make it 3. But we still weren't satisfied. Nusa received the ball on the wing with 85 minutes on the clock and Moukoko stabbed home. And then to put the icing on top of the cake for a 5-0 home win against Real Madrid, Gutierrez played it across the middle and Nusa added another. Now that is definitely the highlight of this rebuild so far. Beating Real Madrid 5-0 never really happens with any club, never mind our struggling Dortmund team. That put us into the Champions League semis where we knocked out Man United 3-2 on aggregate, let me do that properly, 3-2 on aggregate, which led to a final against Liverpool. And this was basically the Jurgen Klopp derby. Now this game had absolutely everything that you could want. Alisson making a mistake early on led to Marlon scoring to put us 1-0 up after 12 minutes. Liverpool hit back from the penalty spot through Mo Salah with 20 minutes on the clock. And not too long afterwards, Marlon found Ilic through the middle, a bursting run managing to slot the ball past Alisson. Liverpool though love a European final and Szoboszlai played the ball into Kimpembe who made it 2-2. And this is when Liverpool really got into the groove, and with 54 minutes on the clock, João Neves found that man Szoboszlai again, whose name I can't pronounce, and he scored to make it 3-2. But as the second half came to a close with 70 minutes played, Daniel Marlon picked up on a mistake from Kimpembe, ran forward, and it was him again plotting the ball past Alisson into the corner. That was 3-3 and we headed into extra time in the Champions League final. And with 106 minutes played, Liverpool tried to clear the ball out. It found Duranville, who pounced on the mistake. He scored. That was enough to get us over the line. We've gone from struggling in every competition to winning the Pokal and winning the Champions League in one season. Now I'd actually say that makes up for the 3 poor seasons so far, and I think most Dortmund fans would back me there, but it was a crazy final, 4-3, like I say, winning the Pokal too, and in the league we were much better, 74 points, our best yet. Most years that would have been enough to win it, but we were 6 points away from eventual winners Bayern Munich, who got 80 points, way better goal difference, lost less games, deserved champions, but this is definitely progress for us, and we had some top performers this year, players that you might not consider to be the best best. I mean, Marlon's been around for ages and suddenly popped up with 20 goals. A very important player for us this season. Kobel was great. Duranville managed to score 2 goals this season. One of them was the all-important Champions League goal. Makoko had a real good season for us. 26 goals, our team's best goal scorer. He is now a first-team regular for us, and he's proving his worth, scoring 18 in 32 league games. Outside of that, lots of great performers. Brandt with 11, Baturina with 10. Things are on the up here now at Dortmund. We've got a really good reputation after winning the Champions League of 5 stars. We've worked on the facilities. And after 3 poor seasons, we've finally delivered some trophies, but we've got 1 more year left yet to try and deliver the ultimate challenge, winning the Bundesliga. And for our final transfer window, we've managed to actually sell some big money players and bring in some new ones. Going out first was Felix Nemecha. This wasn't a big money sale, but he's gone to Al Shabab for 2 mil. Nicolas Süle has been a good servant, but now he goes to Al Hazem out in Saudi. He got that Champions League win. Now he's going to see the rest of his career out on 46 grand a week. And actually, for a Saudi wage, that's pretty low. But the biggest sale, quite controversially, is selling one of our best players to Bayern Munich. Daniel Marlon has left age 28. Now, I wasn't necessarily planning on selling him, but I thought 60 million was a good fee for a man that has been good for us but isn't necessarily vital to the team. 60 mil is a lot. Dortmund do constantly sell lots of their players, particularly to rivals like Bayern Munich, so we just did it. I think it made sense money-wise, and I think we've done okay in terms of incomings to make up for it. Jean-Claire Todibo joined on a free to be one of our best centre-backs. He replaces Süle in the team. Age 27, he comes in after some good seasons for Nice, a very good ball-playing defender, probably one of the best around. A strange one, I know, but Dwight McNeil is in on a free transfer. Our scouts were going crazy about him, telling us to sign him when he was available, so I thought, you know what, let's do it. And then I checked his history. He's been insane for Everton over the last few years in the Championship and the Prem, so you know what? Is a Sean Dyche player going to play Borussia Dortmund football? I don't know, but he's coming here to do it, and fingers crossed it will work out. Another player for the future, Esed Basic, is in. He's joined from Union SG out in the Belgian divisions. 18 years of age, we signed him and loaned him back out. But prepare yourself for this. In his first year with Union, or his second year should I say, he scored 36 goals in 40 games and assisted 10, and only got an average match rating of 7.16. No idea what else he was doing, but 36 goals in 40 is incredible. So we paid 11 million for him, and he's got a huge future. For anyone that continues to save on Patreon, you've got a great player here. Isaac Johansson was a brilliant signing in my eyes. The Icelandic international has 51 caps, age 24. He's joined us from Copenhagen, where he was their best player. We signed him for 12 million quid, and he comes in as one of our best midfielders. And then our biggest signing of the rebuild, Archie Gray, has joined for a huge fee of 57 million. He's been great for Leeds over the years, comes in as a young Englishman with plenty of potential still only 21 at this stage, and I think he's got massive resale value. So even though he costs a lot, I think the club will do all right with this transfer. And he's not quite back yet, but Sebastian Crespo, the guy we signed last season, will be back in time for the start of the year for us. His loan at San Lorenzo will finish, where he's been exceptional, is now an Argentinian international, age 19, and just looks like a phenomenal young centre-back to try and build up from. So he'll be part of the team this year. And after 5 seasons at Dortmund, this is the team we end up with. Gregor Kobel is in goal, currently a world-class goalkeeper, one of the best. Kyle Walker-Peters, Todibo and Schlotterbeck at the back. Schlotterbeck is a phenomenal defender now, age 27. Gutierrez at left back, with Guana Dwarf, Ilic, Baturina, Nusa, Brandt and Mokoko, with plenty of great talent on the bench too. If we now look at the season preview, our aim here, remember, is to win the Bundesliga. This is the best odds we've had actually. Second place predicted finish, 9-2 title favourites. I'm not saying we are going to win it this year, but that's the biggest improvement we've had, so fingers crossed we can at least get close in season 5. And our upwards trajectory continued this season. We weren't so good in the Champions League, being knocked out by Arsenal in the quarter-final, but we did make a Pokal final against Bayern Munich, and after 6 minutes we went forward. McNeil of all people got into the box and made it 1-0 after the ball fell to Mokoko. But of course Bayern Munich are still Bayern Munich, even 5 years on. Darwin Núñez is now playing for them, and he managed to score. Actually, I just checked, it wasn't Darwin Núñez, it's Marcelino Núñez. Baturina then played a corner in the 42nd minute, and Ilic managed to somehow score this header, but literally seconds later Davies scored from Bayern's set piece. With the game closing out, Konate came forward for Bayern Munich. He managed to play the ball back across the middle, and Núñez scored with a Marlon assist. And with only a few minutes left, Baum received the ball in the right back spot with 3-2 down. He played a cross in and Mokoko scored to make it 3-3, and it was us who got the goal in extra time. 99 minutes played, the ball came in and Crespo, the young Argentinian, scored the header, and that was enough to beat Bayern 4-3 in the Pokal final. And in the league, it was a real neck and neck season, not with us and Bayern Munich, but actually with us and Frankfurt. And one of the reasons we were in a title challenge this season was results like this, where we beat Leipzig 5-0. Remember, only a few seasons ago, we were losing 5-0 to them. But as we headed into the tail end of the season, every win counted, and you can see we lost against Hoffenheim and then Mainz on the final day of the season, which really hurt our chances of winning the title. But it did not matter because we got over the line. Yusuf Moukoko as top goal scorer helped us to the title on 80 points, 3 points ahead of Bayern Munich, but Frankfurt coming out of nowhere, pushing us all the way to the wire. The only reason we won it this season was they lost 2 more games than us, and 2 of those games were against us. So that just shows you we had to win every single game we could this year. That 80 points was absolutely massive, and we've got over the line and won Borussia Dortmund the Bundesliga title. Obviously Leverkusen won it in real life, but we have just ended a Bayern Munich dominance run that stretches all the way back to 2011-2012. On the way, we've developed some superstars like Yusuf Moukoko, Ivan Illich has done great, Lucas Guanadouaf has done well, even Zivkovic scoring 6 goals this season, and Nusa with 11. Crespo scored 1 goal all year, and that was that all-important goal in the Pokal final. If we now have a look at the squad in terms of transfer value, all of these players you could fetch £50 million for or more, and all of them are young stars for the future, bar a couple like Schlotterbeck and Todibo and Gerhi, but you get the idea. We have made a squad here with an insane potential, insane valuation, maximum facilities at the club as well. This team has flew up. Yes, it has taken us 3 seasons of failure, but our last 2 years have more than made up for it. 2 Pokal Cups won, 1 Champions League, and also we've got our Bundesliga title to add to that. It was one of our hardest rebuilds at the start, but we made it work. This has been Borussia Dortmund. Let me know who you want to see next in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.